Welcome back to MakeTober. Very excited about today's episode. Today we are making a longboard. This episode is a bit longer and it actually takes place over several days. And so my friends Jordan and Evan are helping me make this longboard. And we made this press and we then slathered glue on all these thin sheets of Baltic birch plywood and layered them up on top of each other and put them inside the press and then bolted it down real tight so that it would take that shape, and we let it dry overnight, and then the next day we come and open it up and see how it turns out. So we did the first glue up with the board to try to make the curve the way that we thought it should be, and we kind of just guessed and we experimented with it, and we created this longboard template. Now the problem is that this curve is far too much of a curve. So when you stand on this, it's super uncomfortable. This curve is way too deep. The other thing is it makes the board really far too stiff. There's not enough flex and give to it. So this board is going to be our first attempt, and we're just set it aside and we're gonna make another press that is gonna be a less dramatic curve, hopefully something that's a bit flatter down in the bottom, and we'll go from there. The next day, Jordan and I get back together. Our plan today is to make a new frame and to lay out the longboard. So I go ahead and make the new press for the boards, and I make it with a bit of a more shallow curve to it. Meanwhile, Jordan lays out the shape of the longboard on that piece of paper, and then together we glue up a new board for testing out. The next day I come back and I take this all apart to see how the new board turns out. I'm really happy with the shape of the board this time. It was just a nice shallow amount of curve, and it has flexible and fantastic. So now I cut out that template of the longboard that Jordan drew up, and I also copy the cutout for the trucks from the back to the front so that they're identical. And then what I do is I place that template onto the longboard blank that we have, and I spray paint it so I can see what part should be cut out. Then I move over to the bandsaw. This bandsaw was a gift from my neighbor Rob, which was very generous of him. So I cut out the shape of the longboard on the bandsaw here, and it's really fun using that bandsaw. I still have some skills to learn in that department, but I am really enjoying using it. Then I head over to the workbench and I drill a hole through the board, and I use that as a starting place to use the jigsaw. And I use the jigsaw, which also is lent to me by my next door neighbor Jonathan. All these tools that I have, many of them are gifts or being lent to me, which is so generous of my friends and family. So I cut out the holes for the trucks. You saw me cut the hole in the longboard to be able to fit the truck through. However, that hole was not big enough to fit the truck through. This piece here was too big to be able to fit through that hole. So I kept cutting the hole bigger and bigger until I finally got it to fit through. Once I got it to fit through, kind of angled it through, the hole was too big and it wouldn't, there wasn't enough wood to be able to bolt the wheels on anymore. So what I did was I came up with a compromise. So here's the hole that I cut that's too big, and then what I did was I cut this slot so that you can slide this guy, fit into this part of the hole, and then it slid down into this slot here, and then it could be bolted on from there. And then what I did on the other side of the board was I simply just cut out a notch like so that would allow the trucks to kind of slide into like so and be bolted on. Then I took it to my neighbor Rob, who knows skateboards and is very mechanical, and he pointed out that this piece here can be unbolted, and then the truck can come apart, and then that's how you can fit it through the hole and still be able to bolt it on. You take it in two pieces, you cut a hole just big enough for the trucks to fit through, and then you bolt it from the top and the bottom, and we're all good. So this is another prototype board, and I'm going to make yet another one after this that incorporates what I learned this time around. However, this is a workable board, and so I decided to play with it a little bit. Here I am trying out the longboard, the prototype longboard. It's a ton of fun to play with. I've only been on a longboard about 3 times now, so I'm still really iffy with it, but it is a blast to ride. And you know, this is how the making process goes. Sometimes things don't work out the way you expect, and you kind of got to view things as an experiment and then iterate and improve. And so that's what I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to take what I learned from this first or second attempt actually and do a third attempt, and hopefully that'll work out even better. And if all goes well, I will be doing some more work on that with Jordan at Maker Faire on Saturday, and then on Sunday I'm hoping to be able to work on the artwork for my longboard there at Maker Faire. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more MakeTober.